So do you guys own a pole barn or garage with super high ceilings, like a 14-foot, 16-foot, or even higher ceiling, and need some proper lighting? Well, good news for you, HyperLite has got you covered. They make lights for all sorts of situations, indoor and outdoor. And what we've got here is a high bay light made for this application. So stick around, I'm gonna open up this box and show you guys what's inside, and I'm also gonna show you guys how to install it. All right guys, let's go ahead and jump right into this unboxing. Once we unbox this thing, I'm gonna show you everything that's inside of it, what it comes with, and then we're gonna go over some of the specs so you guys know if you buy this yourself, what you're getting into. So here are the lights themselves. As you can see, they're very, very well packaged. We've got these foam insulators on them. They keep them nice and stable inside the box. They don't get smashed around. Right here, we've got some of the hangers that they come with. Okay, so this is the light itself. You can see it's got a nice thick heat sink here. This is all aluminum heat sinks. And what these do is they keep the chips cool on the inside for the LEDs and allows for a long lasting light. Then here on the other side of the light, you can see these lens covers. These lens covers here are actually a low glare lens cover. They got like a rough textured finish, kind of like a matte finish to them, so that they don't have a lot of glare when they shine. That way you don't have this reflection coming off of everything. You just get a nice clean light from it. You can see here on each side we've got 3 strips of LED lights. These are 130 lumens per watt. Each one of these housings here are rated for 165 watts. So being that they're 130 lumens per watt, that gives you about 20 to 21,000 lumens per light module. So that's really, really bright. I've already got 2 of these installed, which I'll show you guys in a little bit, and they're extremely bright. So let's go ahead and set this one to the side. Here is the other one we've got. So this one came in a 2-pack. You can get them in a 2 or a 4-pack, or you can buy them singly. These are a 2-foot panel. You could also get these in a 4-foot panel, depending on how much light you need and what size your garage is. I opted for the 2-foot panels because I think that's all I need, given how bright these are. Overall, a very, very clean, well put together light. Let me set this over here, and we'll see what else is in the box here. So along with your hangers, you also get your chains. This is how you're going to be mounting the lights to your ceiling. There is another optional lighting bracket if you want to mount it a different way. They've got all kinds of brackets for these lights, and they also have all kinds of accessories, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So let me give you guys a little bit closer look at the lights, and we're going to go into a little bit more detail about them themselves. And then I'm going to show you guys exactly how these things get installed, and we'll see just how good these lights look when they're all mounted up. All right, so now that we've got the lights unboxed, I'm gonna tell you guys about some of the specs here. So these lights come with a 5-year warranty and a 30-day, basically money back, meaning if you don't end up liking this product and you wanna ship it back, you have 30 days to ship it back for free. And as I already stated, these panels have an anti-glare lens cover for a nice soft light. They come with heat sinks on the back panels for cooling the chips to the LEDs. This gives them longer life. And speaking of the lifespan, they rate these lights to have a 50,000 hour service life. Should last many years. These lights are specifically designed for high ceilings and work best in garages, warehouses, pole barns, gymnasiums, and indoor arenas. These particular panels are 160 watts a piece, and they're 130 lumens per watt, which leaves you around 20,000 or 21,000 lumens per panel. Now the specs that I just gave you are for these particular panels called the High Bay Will Series. And if you check out their website, they also have a High Bay Ray Series. Basically, the 2 main differences between these Will lights and the Ray Series are the Will lights that I have in front of me here can accept optional accessories. But yeah, these Will Series are nice just because of the add-ons that you can get for them, which is what I really liked about them. That being said, let me walk you guys through what you're gonna need to install these lights. So over here, I've got an impact gun. You could use an impact gun with a Phillips tip, or you could use a screwdriver. You're also gonna want a drill to pre-drill your holes. You're gonna want a tape measure. And lastly, you're gonna need a threaded eye bolt. These eye bolts allow you to connect the chains to hang the lights. You'll thread these into the ceiling. That's why we have this drill here, so we could pre-drill the holes so that these go in easier and don't crack the wood. I'm not gonna be using these particular eye bolts, as I have these eye bolts right here that I really like. Now these eye bolts are for a hanging suspension ceiling. These are for the suspended frame that hangs in the air where the individual tiles will fit into the frame itself. So that's what these are made for, and what I really like about these is not only they're cheap, but they also come with the socket here, and the socket allows you to throw it on an impact gun and screw them in with a gun versus having to manually screw them in or put a screwdriver in them and spin it around. They just seem to work really well for this application. So either or will work just fine. Figured it was worth a mention because these lights do not come with an eye bolt, so you will have to get your own. With that all being said, I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to install these lights. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so looking at the back of your panel, the first thing you wanna do here is unscrew this screw right here that holds this cover down. And the reason we want to do that is we can punch out the plate here. As you can see, we've got 3 holes here depending on where you want your wires to come in from. I'm going to choose the one all the way to the end here because of where my wire is going to be going. I'd rather have it all the way at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this one out, and then what we're going to do is put the plate back on loosely because we'll have to open it back up to finish wiring it in once we get these lights hung. So here I've got a flathead screwdriver. I'm just going to go ahead and stick it in here and basically just rock this back and forth until your knockout plate comes out. So now we've got that out, we can go ahead and throw this cover plate back on. Screw in a couple threads. And there we go. Now the next thing we're gonna wanna do is take these little brackets here, 2 for each light. There's a little slot on each side of the light here. So you'll take the little J hooks on this clip here and you'll slide it into the slots. One on that side and one on the other side. Just like that. Okay, now what we want to do is pull the chains out of the bags here. And what they do is they give you an entire chain for each side of the light. So you'll have 4 chains all together between 2 lights. So what they want you to do is basically use one of the chains for each end here. But what I noticed is that you don't need 2 chains. I found it's easier just to use 1 chain. So I'm going to show you guys how I do that. All right, so what I've got here is just a spare chain. Like I said, the chain that we don't really need to use. But what we do need off of it is these 2 hooks on the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a vise. And we're gonna basically just rob the hooks off of it. So we're gonna put it in the vise like that. And we're just gonna bend this hook out a little bit. Just enough to sneak the chain off. And we're gonna repeat the same process with this other side here. There we go. Okay, so we've got the 2 hooks here that I've taken off of the other chain. And basically what we're gonna do here is take the chain we are using and we're gonna hook it. And we're gonna use the hooks on each end to hook these brackets. So I got one there. We've got the other hook here. Okay, so we've got it hooked on both sides. And I found what was easiest on the other lights was to let the middle of the chain have some slack like this. And then what we're gonna do is just reuse these other hooks here that we took off the other chain, count up about 5 or 6 links. So when you're all done, it should look something like this. And then these 2 hooks here will go right into our eye bolts. So that's how I did the other side, and it worked really well. Makes it very easy to adjust it after the fact. You could just count the chain links and make sure you get them on the same one. We've got plenty of chain length here with just the 1 chain. So like I said, I found this to be the easiest way. Okay, so we've got the hole in the cover plate loose, we've got our hooks on, we've got our chains on. We should be all set to mount this light. So now I'm gonna get up here on the ladder and show you guys what we got going on up there and how to mount this light. All right guys, so here we are up on the ladder. Just wanna show you what we got going on up here. So as you can see, here is my 110 volt line coming out from the ceiling. I've got it tacked against the purlin strips here that hold my installation up, where it comes down and will connect to the light. Now once you have your wire all run to where your light is gonna be going, I assume you'll probably already have a wire there. Most people will, unless you're building a brand new garage. What you wanna do is find out like the center point on where you're mounting your light. So for me, these installation panels are 8 foot. So to make this nice and even on this, I measured 4 foot from the header over so I could be dead center on the panel. So that's where I put my wire through. And then what you're gonna wanna do is grab yourself a tape measure. And I measured out the hooks to be about 20 inches apart on the lights. That's where those clips go. So what I did was I found my center mark, which is right here, and I measured 10 inches over and made a mark. And then same thing over here. I measured from the center mark, 10 inches over, and there's my mark right there. So being that I have my marks, now what I can do is use my drill to pre-drill these furring strips so that I don't crack them. So I'm just gonna line up myself with this mark here. We're just gonna drill a couple holes. That way I don't crack it. And then what we're gonna do is grab our impact gun with that special socket. If you're using the same kind of hooks that I'm using, I'm gonna go ahead and grab one of the eye bolts. And as you'll see here, they actually snap right into the end, just like that. And then we'll go ahead and screw this into place. Just like that. Now I was gonna use regular eye bolts, but my father actually told me about these. He's done a lot of work with suspended ceilings, and he actually had some of these laying around. He goes, why don't you use these instead? I think it'll be a lot easier for you. So it's actually where I got the idea from, and I think they work a lot better than sitting there by hand trying to thread in those hooks. Okay, so there's our second one. Now what you're gonna wanna do is just make sure your hooks are down the same amount of distance. So I normally keep them about halfway on the threads. And once these are evened out, I'm gonna get the light. We'll bring the light up here. Go ahead and connect the chains from the light onto these hooks. Then I gotta shut my breaker off so I can show you guys how to wire this in. All right, guys, so now I'm gonna go ahead and shut the breaker off. Always shut the breaker off when you're working with electrical. Just because I'm trying to record this and install it by myself, I'm gonna go ahead and bend these hooks so that they don't come out, because I'm gonna have to hold this thing with one hand. You can do this if you want. It's never a bad idea to bend these over. That way the chain doesn't slip out. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and just place one of these hooks on for now. I'll keep the other one in my pocket. And I'm basically just gonna carry this thing up with one hand like this. Just like this here. I'm gonna walk up the ladder and we'll get this one set on the hook there, and then I can get the other chain installed. Got that installed there. So I'm just gonna install this other hook, probably about 5 links up. I could readjust this later. And I'm gonna go ahead and hook this other side. Just like that. Okay, so now that we've got the light mounted, what we want to do is make sure that the top of the light is at least 18 inches from the bottom of the ceiling. Basically measure it like this, and you want to make sure you're about 18 inches. I actually put mine at 11 and I was fine, but the reason they do this is so that if any heat comes from the top of this, because it does get kind of warm, they just don't want them starting your insulation on fire. But like I said, I put these other ones over here, I put them at 11 inches and they've been fine, and I've checked it and they're plenty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure 11 inches down. So we gotta come up a bit on this hook. We'll do that on each side, get this thing leveled off, and then we will be ready to wire it in. That right there is exactly 11 inches, especially once we get the other side level. Okay, so we're just gonna do the same thing to this side. Just like that. What's really nice about these lights that I forgot to mention is they actually have a bubble leveler built into the light. So as you can see here, we've got the bubble dead center. So that's a nice easy way to see if you're level as well. Instead of counting chain links, you can just level it up until you see that your bubble is in the center here. Not a whole lot of light fixtures do that, so I think that's a really nice quality feature that they put this leveler in there for you. Now all that's left is to remove this cover, which we left loose, so I don't even need my screwdriver. We'll pop that off. Now with the cover plate off, what we're gonna wanna do is fish the cover plate over your main power wires coming out of your ceiling. So we're gonna wanna put it through the plate like that. Because once we are done, we're gonna want these wires to go into the panel, and then the plate is gonna cover it, so it'll look something like that. And now what we're gonna be doing is connecting our hot, neutral, and ground. So we've got the ground coming out of the panel here. These are just those little push connectors, nice and easy to work with. All you gotta do is find a vacant slot and just push your wire into it. You'll actually kind of feel it click, and then you won't be able to pull the wire back out of it. So we've got our ground in there. Now we can go ahead and do our neutral. Again, just find a vacant slot and push it in, pull back, make sure it's tight. And lastly, we can do our hot wire. Push it in, pull back, and we're set. One thing you want to make sure is that you got these cut down to like a 1/4 inch or less. You want to make sure you have enough wire to go in to make contact with the plug connector, but you want to make sure that you have insulation covering all the way up to the back of the connector. So you do not want open wire hanging out of the back of the connector here, because that can short something out. So just be careful with that. So now we've got our hot, neutral, and ground hooked up. We go ahead and fold these back down into the housing itself, and then we can drop our cover plate back down. Bend our wire over so we can get our plate in. Set the plate in just like that. Reinsert our screw. Okay. Now with that done, you can go ahead and push in the rest of these wires just to make it look neat if you want. Push it up right to the insulation there, just like so. All right, guys, so once everything is said and done, you should have a light panel that looks like this. So that's all there is to installing one of these. Very, very simple to install. I really like the bubble level that they give you in this fixture. Definitely makes it a little bit easier to install. But let's go ahead and get down and see what it looks like from down here. That's what it should look like. Let's go ahead and jump down and turn that breaker on and see what this thing looks like. All right, so this breaker here. Wow, yeah, that's bright. You almost can't even look at it. That's much better, much, much better. For the longest time, all I had was light over here, and now I can finally start getting some light over here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna install this other light. I'm not gonna show you guys on camera just because it's so hard for me to be up on a 12-foot ladder trying to hold everything with one hand and show you guys the camera in the other. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this other one up now that you guys know how to do it, and then we'll take a look at the end result and see what it looks like. All right guys, so I've got the other light all installed. It only took me maybe 10-15 minutes without recording. They're really, really easy lights to install. Probably one of the easiest fixtures I've ever installed. But yeah, we've got that one installed, as well as the other one over here. Don't mind the garage door opener light there. They look really good. I actually like the way they look up there. They're gonna be the perfect size for in here. And based on the diagram that they showed me off their CAD program, they're supposed to light up every inch of this garage. So let's go ahead and turn the lights on. And this will be my first time seeing it with all the lights on. So let's see what happens here. Wow, yeah, that's bright. That's really bright. So I installed these pretty much exactly to their directions. Like I say, they print out a CAD program for you, or send you a CAD program layout, and they even give you the measurements on where they advise you to install them. I've got them really close, if not dead on, to where they wanted them installed. And it shows because basically on their CAD program, the entire middle here was like a hot spot. Everything here was like red. And then coming out from the sides, it was like an orangish, and then in the corners and stuff, it was like more of a yellowish. So pretty much everything had light, and the entire center here was all a hot spot. And that's what it appears like if you look at the floor here. So apparently their CAD program is really good. I will put some of the pictures up if I could find them on the screen. But I think that's really cool that a company will do that for their customers. It's not very often that you find a company willing to do the legwork to find exactly what works for you, especially an online company such as this one. So definitely check them out. The company is called HyperLite. And I will have links in the video description on where you could save 5 to 6% off, depending on if you go on the Amazon link or their website link. So definitely check that out. As far as the pole barn goes, you guys will see that I got all of my installation finally done. I'm sure you guys probably noticed that already. I've got my layout much better in the garage now. I think I've got the layout I'm gonna stick with at least for a while now. I created this little backboard here where I could hang all of my tools. This is like all the main stuff that I'm always using. And it's just nice to have them up on a wall so you're not looking all over for them. And when you're missing something, you could see it because everything's got its spot. Got the vise mounted over here. I've still got this little welding cart that I used to use for welding. Right now I just got a grinder and my drill press on it. Got the toolbox. I moved this cabinet over here. I think I explained that in one of my short videos. Made a bunch of nuts and bolts bins and stuff like that. And under here, I got it all organized with all kinds of stuff as well. Oil filters, fuel filters, my spare wire, and all kinds of wire nuts and all that kind of stuff. Down here is all my Milwaukee tools, my bigger tools that don't fit in my toolbox. And then this table's probably gonna go just because, as you can see, it sticks out like a sore thumb compared to everything else here. I'd like to get a table here that's 3 foot wide, a full steel table, and that way I could use it for welding, because as you see here, I have it right below my welding outlets. So I'll have my welders here, and then I'll have like a small little 3 foot wide steel welding table here instead of this 4 foot wide table that sticks out from everything else. So that way everything will be streamlined right along this corner here, and that way when I'm pulling vehicles in and out of here, I don't have to worry about driving around anything like this table. I also got this nice little bolt bin. After I made all the bolt bins for inside there, I ended up finding this for $100, so I bought it up. It's a super old, like antique bolt bin. It's one of the commercial ones. It's still got even all the labeling on it for all your nuts and bolts. So I'm probably gonna end up changing all them bolt bins and throwing them all in here, and then I'll do something different with that. But that's gonna be really nice to have. I've always wanted an old school bolt bin. Compressors over here, I did get the compressor supply line all mounted up, as you can see here. The compressor line goes up, I got a shutoff valve, comes up over top by the header board, and then comes down into my air hose. And with this air hose, I can get air pretty much all the way to the road and then all the way to my shed this way. So I got air pretty much anywhere I'll be going. I am gonna get a nice reel for a 50-foot extension cord. I'm gonna mount that right in the middle here and plug it into one of these outlets in the ceiling. That will have a drop-down extension cord and a drop-down light as well. Over here, not much has changed. I still got my work desk over here. Most of the stuff here is the same. Over here, I'm probably gonna get rid of this glass cabinet. This was by the sink, and I kind of rearranged it over there, which I'll show you. But this is gonna end up going, and I'm gonna have pallet racking all over here. So this is gonna be pallet racking from window to window, basically. Then I can store all my implements in my tractor up on there. This side of the garage I like to leave open for my vehicle and stuff like that, especially once I get a lift put in here. It'll be right here. And then over here, you can see I changed it up a little bit. I've got this little cabinet now for putting stuff in. Probably put like a little coffee maker up here or something right next to the slop sink. So that works out good. And I still got to figure out what I'm going to do with the fridge, because right now I have it on my parts washer, and I don't really like that, obviously, because I can't use it. So I might do something different with the fridge, or just move the parts washer and get a little table for that. But quick little update for you. Figured I'd show you guys where I'm at with the pole barn. I'm pretty much done with it now until next fall, where I'll do a little bit more insulating, such as insulating the garage doors and spray foaming my windows and doors and that kind of thing. But aside from that, it's all pretty much done in here now. So lighting was the last thing I had to do, and now we can get back to working on the Kubota BX and other projects, such as the new forklift that I bought, which is outside. If you guys haven't seen my Facebook page, go check it out. It's called Biff's Equipment, and we also have our own group as well, where I posted pictures of the forklift that's sitting outside here. But as you can see, I got a new seat for it. I got a new battery for it. I've got some terminals here that I got to swap out. I even found the original owner's manual from 1950, and we've got a new ignition and some other stuff coming in the mail. So I hope to dig into that forklift job pretty soon, where we can dig into that and see what we can find and get that thing running top notch again. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys like those lights. For those of you looking for shop lights, I hope you guys will consider giving this company a look at, and check them out, because they got some really good deals and some really nice lights for the pricing. And now you guys know how to install them and know what they look like and that kind of thing too. So check them out. Check out the link in the video description. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe as always. We'll see you guys in the next one.